Welcome sim racers, hope you're all well today. So this video, I've been thinking about doing this video for a little while, and it's really aimed at people who are maybe new to Assetto Corsa Competizione, ACC, or they're new to sim racing, or you're maybe a little bit like me, who's been into sim racing for many years, but I've always found setups to be a bit of a black art. I was going to make this just a kind of standalone single video, but having thought about it over the past day or two, I may well make it the first of a little series of videos as I teach myself about setups in ACC. So if you find it helpful to have that sort of thing explained to you by somebody who is learning as well, then please subscribe to the channel and watch all the videos. So I'm going to show you how to make the two most important changes to an initial setup without having to have any setup knowledge at all. And these two changes are pretty much guaranteed to improve your lap times and make your car handle better as well. So what are these two most important changes? Well, number one, tyre pressures, and number two, fuel load for race and for qualifying. And how are we going to make these changes? Well, we're going to use a free piece of software called ACC Race Engineer. So what is ACC Race Engineer? Well, here it is on the screen, and it's, as I say, it's a free piece of software made by a guy called WallyM on the Assetto Corsa.net forums. I'll put a link in the video description for you to download it. It's a very small file, it's only about 3 meg, just takes seconds. And when you run it, this is how it looks. It's very easy to use, but let's just concentrate on a couple of areas first. This area here for tyres is what I'm going to chat about first, really, and then this race fuel I'll chat about second. Now, the software itself is regularly updated. At the moment we can see it's on version 1.2.0.0, and that just came out fairly recently. So WallyM is always updating it, and is very quick to respond to messages as well on the Assetto Corsa.net forums. I was having a bit of an issue with the fuel readings in this new version just the other night, and dropped him a little message, and he came back to me within about 10 minutes. Fantastic. So what you do is you fire up ACC Race Engineer, and you just want everything reset, basically, so everything's at 0. And what you want to do first of all is look at your tyre PSI. So according to the ACC wiki, the current PSI for GT3 car is between 27.3 and 27.9, and for a GT4 car is 26.8 to 27.4, and for wet tyres it's 30 to 31 PSI. So what you want to do is pick a figure sort of in the middle of these ranges. So for GT3, as I say, it was 27.3 to 27.9. So what I usually put in is 27.5, which is 275, and just leave it at that. Now, if you have a race coming up, a league race, as I do this week, at this stage you want to put the race length in. So I know that my league race this week is 45 minutes long. So that's the only data you have to put into this little window just now. Then you fire up your copy of ACC, go to the track that you want to go to, you leave this running in the background, and you want to go out and do, I don't know, like somewhere between 6 and 10 laps. I usually do about 10 laps. And what ACC is doing is feeding data back to ACC Race Engineer. So you basically fire this up on your desktop, leave it running in the background, fire up ACC, go out and do 10 laps, and then you can Alt-Tab back to this ACC Race Engineer window and see what values it is suggesting. So let's go and do that. I'll use as an example, as I say, I have a league race coming up. I'm a member of the E-Seniors League, which is for drivers over the age of 50, so for us old duffers. And we are at Misano this week. We have a number of races. There is actually a GT4 race tonight, which I might take part in. There's a Porsche Cup race tomorrow night, Thursday. There is a GT3 warm-up race on Friday. And then my race, Group 2 GT3, is on Saturday night. And there's also a Group 1 on Sunday night for GT3. So quite a few races at the one circuit. So I'm going to visit that circuit now in ACC. And quite interesting, I've never actually driven at Misano ever before. Not in ACC, not in any other sim. So it's all going to be brand new to me. So I'm just going to take the safe setup with no changes whatsoever. And I'm going to go out and I'm going to do 10 laps with ACC Race Engineer running in the background. And then let's come back and see what it's suggesting to us. Right folks, so here we are at Misano, and I'm just going to go into the setup. I'm going to load the safe preset. I'm not going to make any changes whatsoever. One thing I will just point out to you, we'll touch on it later, you can see it in the safe setup, it is defaulted to the ECU map 5, the engine map 5, so just make a little mental note of that. So, no changes whatsoever, and I'm now going to go out and drive.
Green light, go, go, go.
Drive about 10 laps. I'm not going to make you watch all the laps. And I have ACC Race Engineer running in the background. So after 10 laps, once the game has fed ACC Race Engineer enough data, we will come back and have a look at what it's suggesting, and I'll report back on the lap times in my first stint here. Okay, so we'll see you in a second. Okay folks, so we've been out for 10 laps, and here is the new updated ACC Race Engineer. Now, the fastest lap I got after 10 laps was a 1:41.7, which I know isn't terrific, but bear in mind it was 10 laps, and I've never turned a wheel at this circuit before. So that's a kind of base starting point. But we can now see that we have some values in here for suggested changes to the PSI on each tyre. So 0.4 for the front left, 1 for the front right, 0.4 for the rear left, and 0.9 for the rear right. So we can go back in and add these new PSI pressures in. Also, we have now a reading for fuel usage. So as I pointed out in a little snippet before, that the safe setup for Misano defaults to engine map 5, and it reckons it's going to use 1.21 litres per minute. So it's worth just popping these figures in here. So that's map 5 and 1.21. So because I put 45 minutes in as the race length, because I know that my upcoming league races are that, it's now saying per lap I am going to use 2.17 litres, and on my last stint it's saying your average lap time was 1:42.261, therefore you need 59 litres of fuel for your 45-minute race. Now the safe setup, when you first load it in at Misano, it gives you 62 litres of fuel, so too much. So already we can drop it down a bit, and you know, power to weight ratio, obviously, that the less fuel you're carrying, the lighter your car is, the faster it's going to go. Simple as that. So let's pop back into the sim, which is still running in the background. You can hear my engine running, and I'm going to put these new PSI changes in, and I'm going to drop my fuel level down a little bit to the suggested 59, and then I'm going to go out and do a few more laps. So here we are, folks, back in the sim, and if we go back to setup, current setup, so that's a safe one we loaded in, and we'll put in these suggested new tyre pressures. So it wanted me to put in 0.4 here, so that's going to be 25.7, and it wants me to put in 1 here, so that's going to be 26.3, and 0.4 here, so oops, 8. Actually, I think that should be it as well, to be honest. And 0.9 here, so 26.3. There we go. And in the fuel, instead of 62 litres, we're going to bump that down to 59. Now, immediately, I want to save this. So safe working is one that I had saved anyway, so I'm just going to save that, and that is my working setup now to go out and do another 10 laps, again with ACC Race Engineer running in the background. I guess what we should do, we should go back into that and we should reset it. We should reset all the values to 0. And now we've got new tyre pressures and a new fuel load. We go out and we do another 10 laps and have a look and see what it suggests. So I'll do that now, and we'll report back again. Right, folks, so I've just been out again and done another 10 laps, and I got it down to a 140.656. So that's pretty much, well, a little bit more than a full second off my previous best, just by altering these tyre pressures and reducing a little bit of fuel. So here is Race Engineer's latest suggestions. Now, as we'd expect, because we're getting neither the optimal tyre pressure, it's just very minimal changes. So minus 0.1 on the front right and 0.1 on the front left, nothing on the back. And it's slightly updated my fuel usage. Maybe my my right foot is getting a little bit heavier now, so 60 litres needed for my 45-minute race coming up in my E-Senior League. So that's just basically a little overview of ACC Race Engineer, how it can help you out with your tyre pressures and it can help you out with your fuel load. And these are two things which are going to give you improved lap times and make your car handle better, and give you a little sort of insight into starting to tweak with setups, which is what I'm doing just now. I'm just trying to learn a little bit as I go along. So I will carry on this series of videos. I'll just make them fairly short. As I find out things, I'll share them with you. But this is a great start. So if you find that you're a little bit slower on the circuit than you'd like to be, this is where to start. ACC Race Engineer, tweak your tyre pressures, tweak your fuel load. I hope you've enjoyed that, and if you have, give us a like and subscribe to the channel, because there's more to come. Thanks a lot, guys. See you later.